Soul
Dad, are we in trouble?
versus Judy. You signed up for this.
We all did.
Let's talk about the agency. So your character, Henry, when we come into the show, we get the sense he hasn't been at London Station for a very long time. Is that accurate?
Well, he hasn't been in the office of the deputy director for terribly long. It seems probably less than a year.
Okay. Was he a lot in the field? Does he miss being in the field? I mean, obviously he's good at his job. He's been promoted, but...
Yeah, well, the sense is that he was a Navy guy and that he was in the field for some time. And now he's a manager. He's in the office taking in the data and helping to organize the pieces on the chessboard. He's a guy who's by the book. I think that's probably how he got to where he is now. He's good at what he does. And, while the CIA obviously has a very, very complicated history and at times goes about, curing problems that it set in motion, I still have tremendous respect for guys like Henry. Not necessarily guys at the CIA, but guys who work for the United States government. I grew up in Washington, D.C. My mom was a lawyer for U.S. Customs for 35 years. So I grew up in that culture, grew up observing, what it meant to be a civil servant. The people who take their jobs very seriously, who are smart, who, yes, want, a good government job, but want to do well and are well-intentioned. And I think Henry is that. He's doing the best he can.
Yeah. I love in the first episode, the first interaction we see between Michael Fassbender's Martian and Henry is one of the warmest that we see among any character in the first episode. Talk to me a little bit about their history, and also, does Henry have a code name? Do you have any idea what Henry's code name was?
Henry had code names in the past, or but no, he's Henry Ogletree.
Okay, there's not like episode 7 we're finding out he's like.
Well, wait till episode 7.
Iron Panther or something.
Wait till episode 7.
All right.
But Michael Fassbender plays Martian, who has been in the field. He's an agent. He's been in Ethiopia for 6 years, and he's now come back to the station. He and Henry have history together, and they have a good deal of mutual respect for one another. And it's a kind of, fraternal, mentor relationship. Henry is, a bit of a big brother to him. I think what the show wants to explore is these relationships and these loyalties and the tension between loyalties, whether they be to country, to agency, or to love, or to family. All of these things are kind of roiling inside of our show, and so the focus is really on the humanness of these characters, and it's done in pretty granular detail. Obviously, the stage that we're playing on is, a very contemporary and recognizable, geopolitical landscape. It's the one that's happening outside the window right there.
Right.
We're in the London station projecting out toward Europe, toward Ukraine and Belarus and Russia. So all of that stuff is playing inside the frame, but the focus of our attention is on these people.
Right.
And who they are, what drives them, what doesn't drive them, what upends them, what confuses, what are they conflicted about, and how will they survive it all.
Michael Fassbender, we spoke to him a few days ago, and he talked a lot about how Martian has to you have to compartmentalize when you do a job like he does, right? I'm wondering how much you would say Henry compartmentalizes. Does he still have to as much as he did?
Oh yeah, I think it's absolutely necessary in that line of work. Otherwise you would go absolutely mad. It's kind of muddy ethical grounds. They're all capable of super heavy stuff.
Yeah.
The implications of what they do can be lethal. Yeah, I think one of the survival mechanisms is to be able to compartmentalize and to be able to kind of in some ways extract some aspect of your humanness from the work that you do. It's inhumane work. It can be, or it can lead to those that type of outcome. So, yeah, it's complicated moral space.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, along those lines, clearly the Martian character that we follow from the beginning, we see him lying to various people for different reasons. How aware is Henry that maybe Martian isn't being totally honest with him about what happened in Ethiopia? How much does he care?
One of the questions that Joe Wright, who is the director of the first 2 episodes and also one of the executive producers, one of the questions that he asked early on was to be aware of when a person was lying and why, to the extent that that's known. So that's a question to be asked. I mean, they're all in some ways, by nature of the work, trained liars. So. We'll find out the answers to your questions.
That was a good spy answer to my question. I appreciate it very much.
As we continue
Sweet.
on our 10-episode journey of the first episode of The Agency.
I love
on
that.
Paramount Plus.
Plug
with
it.
the Showtime plan.
There we go.
Beginning November 29th.
Amazing.
2024.
You have been in James Bond movies, several of them. Those movies, I don't think I've ever heard any character say, I don't know if we can afford to exfiltrate this character.
Right.
Right? And then we get to the agency and there are like long conversations about, yes, this is the right thing to do, but do we have the funds to do it? Or is it budgetary? Talk to me about that, about kind of getting very grounded in this, in real world kind of stuff.
That's what was really smart about these scripts, I think, and really wonderful is that, it is down to the kind of, granular details of the day-to-day. They're part of a bureaucracy. That's the nature of it. They're part of, the largest employer in the United States, which is the United States government. And we wanted to explore those aspects of the work. I think it's super interesting.
I do too.
It only helps to suspend disbelief.
Yeah. I mean, someone's paying for James Bond's toys, right? So.
Well, James Bond is wonderful, but it's kind of a budget-free world.
Yeah.
Henry's
pretty office-bound for the first few episodes. Does he ever get to be out in the first season? Did you get to do anything cool outside?
Well, Henry does make his way outside the office, but everything filters back to that office. Mm-hmm. We're on the 9th floor of the U.S. Embassy, the new U.S. Embassy, newly built along the Thames in London. It's essentially a fortress, which is emblematic of the times. So, yes, he's in that office, but it's not an ordinary office.
No.
Henry had the best office in the building, or at least on that floor. Corner office.
Yeah.
Nice view of the Thames, and much of London, and fine reading material. Both confidential and historical. Yeah, I dug my office.
That's a great office.
Henry's in that office.
Henry's not leaving that office.
Not leaving that office. Holding it down. We've only got one shot at this. And this is bigger than any of us.
Last of Us Part 2, you voiced Isaac in the game.
I did.
And you are playing Isaac in season 2.
I am.
Talk to me about, you shot that in motion capture against green screen, minimal props.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like then to walk into the world fully realized that you had only kind of been in this imaginary way?
Yeah, the props were real. I was like, wow, okay. I can actually, not virtually, but I can actually reach out and touch what it is. And Isaac does reach out and touch some things. Trust me. Yeah, I voiced the game really because my son was a fan of the game. Mm-hmm. And I'd met Neil Druckmann. He kind of hinted at, maybe wanting me to do a voice for the game. Mm-hmm. And then Shannon Woodward, who's in Westworld, was in the game. And Hallie, who was one of the writers for Westworld, also a writer for not only the game, but also the show, Last of Us. So they were kind of egging me on. And then I asked Elijah, my son, I said, hey, what do you make of this game, The Last of Us? What? Oh my God! So that's why I did the voice.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very just a few days of work. It was really you do certain things for certain reasons. In this case, it was to win some cool points with my son. And so now wildly popular game has become wildly popular TV show. Like so much so I hadn't even realized until I showed up on set, until it was announced that I was going to be there. How many people are into this thing. And so, I, showed up and it's kind of an introduction to the character. People have asked, I see online, whether we'll get a little bit of a backstory about Isaac. We might.
Okay.
We might. It might not be pretty.
I was gonna say, he is he's effective.
Yeah.
But he's brutal, right? In the game. I'm wondering if you can talk at all about how that compares in the show.
Yeah, he's kind of a straight-to-the-point type of guy. And, you know, it's a fairly brutal world that they're inhabiting.
True.
He's going to do what he thinks it takes to survive all that. Yeah, have fun with Isaac this season. Have fun with that guy. But I'll tell you, yeah, in terms of, you know, set values, oh my gosh, production values.
Yeah.
Wow. We did a scene in the, I think it's going to be in the second time we see Isaac. Oh my gosh. It was just super cool. I've worked on a lot of cool rigs on film sets. This was one of the more elaborate and super interesting in terms of the engineering. It was really cool, and the effect is going to play out nicely.
Before I let you go, you brought up Westworld. About a year ago, you said, I have a feeling in my bones that there's more Westworld to be had.
Yeah.
How are your bones feeling a year later?
Oh, I don't know. You know, I've been biking a lot. You know, I've been trying to stay active, but I don't know. I was hoping that we would have the opportunity to round it off because we didn't get that. You never know. And, you know, the thing about Westworld is because it's focused on the technology, we can do anything. We can go anywhere. And in some ways, I think the show is more relevant now than it was even a few years ago.
Well, some of the things that are in the later seasons are just things we have now.
Social confusion being kind of the primary.
Yeah.
I think in many ways, I say it all the time, Westworld was a documentary. And we're all here now. Welcome to Westworld. Yeah, we need to be mindful. Yeah, it's, Westworld was a cautionary tale.